Ever wonder what Perplexing Chimera does to a CEDH game? Find out in today's episode. Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Before we get into tonight's game, I wanted to ask a question. Do you have extra cards lying around that you don't use? Want to buy or trade for some extra cards but don't know how to maximize the value? Then you should try out today's sponsor, Card Conduit. Card Conduit is the best service when it comes to selling your extra cards. They have three main services. Their standard service lets you send them your unsorted cards of any value. They will sort, grade, and give you the best price for your cards. Their curated service is similar. Send them your unsorted cards worth over $1 in value. They will charge half the fee of the standard service and charge no fee per card. Their sorted service is a great value as well. Choose cards in advance with their selection tool, send them sorted to Card Conduit, and they will grade and buy list them automatically. Save yourself the time of having to send to multiple sites and let Card Conduit do it instead. Their fee is only 2% with no fee per card. So give Card Conduit a try today. If you sign up with my link in the description below or use the promo code POWER, you will also get 10% off of their fees when you use their service. A big thanks to Card Conduit for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Alex piloting Kinnan, Bonder Prodigy. This deck seeks to use its commander to ramp on mana while flipping massive threats onto the battlefield. Alex's opening hand contains Chrome Mox, Misty Rainforest, Felwar Stone, Soul Ring, Consecrated Sphinx, and his London Mulligans are Spellskite and Cyclonic Rift. Next, we have our Mox Pearl patron Chris, piloting Atraxa, Grand Unifier. This deck seeks to generate infinite mana using Food Chain and then casting its commander for massive card advantage. Chris's opening hand contains a Mystic Remora, Silence, Traneth Magistrate, Dark Ritual, Vampiric Tutor, Windswept Heath, and a Stern Scolding. After that, we have Ryan, piloting Godo, Bandit Warlord. This deck seeks to cast its commander, equip Helm of the Host, and win through infinite combats. Ryan's opening hand contains a Mana Vault, Gemstone Caverns, Urza Saga, 2 Snow-Covered Mountains, and his London Mulligans are Argentum Armor and Command Beacon. His sticker sheets this game are Ancestral Hot Dog Minotaur, Misunderstood Trapeze Elf, and Unglued Pea-Brain Dinosaur. Finally, we have TK piloting Najeela, the Blade Blossom. This is a mid-range version seeking to grind value with its commander before closing out the game with infinite combats. TK's opening hand contains a Tinderwall, Force of Will, Muddle the Mixture, Intuition, Esper Sentinel, Underground Sea, and a Bayou. Without further ado, let's kick off this early eagle-eyed Earnest Easter egg. Alex had the best altered commander and gets to start us off. But Ryan has a pre-game action, putting Gemstone Caverns onto the battlefield, exiling Snow-Covered Mountain. Alex draws a card for turn and plays a Misty Rainforest. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a tropical island onto the battlefield. He casts a Soul Ring, he casts a Felwar Stone, and Alex is super grateful to Ryan for his Gemstone Caverns. He casts a Chrome Mox, imprinting Consecrated Sphinx. He casts his commander, Kinnan, Bonder Prodigy. After completely dumping out his hand, Alex passes. Chris draws and plays a Windswept Heath. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Tundra onto the battlefield. He casts a Mystic Remora. Chris passes. Ryan draws and plays an Urza Saga, getting its first counter. He casts a Mana Vault. Remora triggers and Chris draws. Ryan ends his turn. TK draws and plays a Taiga. He casts a Tinderwall and passes to Alex. During his upkeep, Alex activates Kinnan. He looks at the top 5, putting Elvish Mystic onto the battlefield. He draws and plays a Mana Confluence. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Kinnan. Ryan takes it, and Alex ships the turn. During his upkeep, Chris pays to keep his Remora. He draws and plays a Wooded Foothills. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a tropical island onto the battlefield. Chris ends his turn. Ryan draws, and in his first main phase, Urza Saga gets another counter. He plays a Snow-Covered Mountain and sends the turn to TK. TK draws and plays an Underground Sea. He sacrifices Tinderwall, adding 2 red. He casts his commander, Najeela the Blade Blossom. TK ends his turn. Alex draws and casts Glenalindra Archmage. He casts Perplexing Chimera. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Kinnan. Ryan takes it, and Alex gives the turn to Chris. During his upkeep, Chris pays to keep his Remora. He draws, takes no actions, and passes. At the end of Chris's turn, Ryan activates Urza Saga, creating a construct. Then Chris discards the hand size, and the turn moves to Ryan. Ryan draws, and in his first main phase, Urza Saga triggers. In response, Ryan activates Urza Saga, creating another construct. Then Ryan sacrifices Saga, fetching up a Grafdigger's Cage onto the battlefield. The table sighs, and Ryan casts Mox Opal. Remora triggers, and Chris draws. Ryan moves to combat and attacks Alex with a construct. Alex takes 5, and then Ryan passes to TK. TK draws and plays a Bayou. He moves to combat and attacks Chris with Najeela. Najeela triggers, and TK puts a 1/1 warrior onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking Chris. Chris takes it all, and TK passes to Alex. Alex draws and plays a Treasure Vault. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with Glenalindra and Chris with Perplexing Chimera and Kinnan. They both take it, and Alex passes. During his upkeep, Chris lets his Remora die. He draws and casts a Traneth Magistrate. Chris ends his turn, discarding to hand size. Ryan draws and casts Honor War and Shaku. He moves to combat and attacks Alex with his construct. Alex takes 6, and Ryan passes. TK draws and plays a Volcanic Island. He moves to combat and attacks Alex with Najeela and a warrior. Najeela triggers, creating 2 more warriors tapped and attacking Alex. Alex takes it all, and TK passes. Alex draws and plays an island. He holds up blockers against the onslaught and then sends the turn to Chris. Chris draws, plays a command tower, and passes. Ryan draws and moves to combat. He attacks TK with a construct. TK takes 6, and in his second main phase, he casts Goblin Engineer. Perplexing Chimera triggers, and Alex exchanges control of it and Goblin Engineer. With Engineer still in the stack, Chris casts Stern Scolding, targeting Engineer. In response, Alex activates Glenalindra, sacrificing it, countering Stern Scolding. Glenalindra's Persist triggers, but doesn't re-enter due to Grafdigger's Cage. Then Goblin Engineer enters under Alex's control, and he fetches up a Mirage Mirror into his graveyard. Finished up, Ryan passes. At the end of Ryan's turn, TK casts Intuition. He fetches up a Samut, Vizier of Noctamoon, Derevi Imperial Tactician, and a Druid's Repository. Chris gives him Samut, the rest go to his graveyard, and the turn moves to TK. TK draws and plays an Ancient Tomb. He casts Samut, Vizier of Noctamoon. Perplexing Chimera triggers, and Ryan exchanges control of it. Then Samut resolves. TK moves to combat and attacks Chris with 3 warriors. Najeela triggers, creating 3 more warriors tapped and attacking Chris. Chris blocks 1 with Drenith and then takes the rest. TK passes. At the end of TK's turn, Alex activates Treasure Vault, where X equals 5, sacrificing it. In response, Chris casts Vampiric Tutor. He fetches up a card onto the top of his library and loses 2 life. Then Alex creates 5 treasures, and the turn moves to Alex. Alex draws and plays a Gemstone Caverns. He activates Goblin Engineer, sacrificing a treasure, returning Mirage Mirror to the battlefield. Alex ends his turn. During Chris's upkeep, Alex activates Mirage Mirror, having it become a copy of Perplexing Chimera. Chris draws and casts Out of Time. It enters, untaps and faces out all creatures, and Out of Time gets 15 counters. After wiping the board, or more appropriately phasing the board, Chris passes. Ryan draws and plays a snow-covered mountain. He casts Chrome Mox, imprinting a braid. He casts his commander, Godo, Bandit Warlord. In response, TK casts Force of Will, paying a life, exiling a blue card, countering Godo. Ryan ends his turn. TK draws and taps his Ancient Tomb to cast Talisman of Dominance. He passes. Alex draws, takes no actions, and passes the turn. During his upkeep, Chris removes a counter from Out of Time. He draws and plays a Polluted Delta. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up an Underground Sea onto the battlefield. Chris ends his turn. During Ryan's upkeep, Chris casts Silence, locking out opponents from spells this turn. Ryan draws, can't do anything, so he passes. TK draws and plays an Arid Mesa. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Savannah onto the battlefield. He ships his turn. Alex draws and casts Transmute Artifact. He sacrifices Felwar Stone, fetching up the One Ring onto the battlefield, paying the difference. He activates the One Ring, adding a burden counter and drawing a card. He plays a Breeding Pool into play tapped, and then gives the turn to Chris. During his upkeep, Chris removes the counter from Out of Time. He draws and casts Grand Abolisher. In response, Alex taps Mana Confluence to hard cast Mindbreak Trap. In response, Chris casts Swan Song. Trap is countered, Alex creates a 2/2 bird, and then Grand Abolisher resolves. With nothing else, Chris sends the turn to Ryan. Ryan draws, casts a Grim Monolith, and passes. TK draws and plays a Flooded Strand. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Tundra onto the battlefield. He casts an Esper Sentinel and passes to Alex. During his upkeep, Alex loses a life from the One Ring. He also activates the One Ring, adding a counter and drawing 2 cards. He draws and then casts a Lotus Petal. He taps Mana Confluence to cast a Void Winnower. He pays 2 life to help cast Phyrexian Metamorph. It enters, as a copy, a Void Winnower. He moves to combat and attacks Ryan with his bird. Ryan takes it and Alex passes. During his upkeep, Chris removes the counter from Out of Time. He draws and casts Eternal Scourge. Chris passes. Ryan draws, takes no actions, and passes. TK draws, also takes no actions, and ends his turn. During his upkeep, Alex loses 2 life from the One Ring. He then activates the One Ring, adding a counter and drawing 3. He moves to combat and attacks Chris with everything. Chris blocks one of the Winnowers with Eternal Scourge and takes the rest. In his second main phase, Alex casts a Trinisphere. All through, Alex passes. During his upkeep, Chris removes a counter from Out of Time. He draws and passes the turn. Ryan draws, plays a snow-covered mountain, and ships the turn to TK. TK draws and, being locked out by the Void Winnowers, also does nothing and passes to Alex. During his upkeep, Alex loses 3 life through the One Ring. He also activates the One Ring, adding a counter and drawing 4 cards. He draws and plays a Command Tower. He moves to combat and attacks Chris with Void Winnower. Since Chris can't block with even creatures, he takes it all and dies. Out of Time leaves the battlefield and all creatures phase back in. In his second main phase, Alex casts Mox Opal. Esper Sentinel triggers and Alex pays. Alex passes the turn. Ryan draws and moves to combat. He attacks Alex with both constructs. Alex blocks with his bird and his Elvish Mystic. Both creatures die, and in his second main phase, Ryan casts Rolling Earthquake, where X equals 12. Alex, knowing he is dead if this resolves, thinks of a plan. He activates Mirage Mirror, making it a copy of the One Ring, sacrificing the original. He activates the One Ring, adding a counter and drawing a card. He casts Whir of Invention, where X equals 4, improvising Trinisphere to help cast it, shutting off Trinisphere. Unfortunately, Perplexing Chimera triggers. TK then exchanges control of Whir and Chimera. Whir resolves and TK fetches up the One Ring onto the battlefield. With no other answers and nothing else to do, Earthquake resolves. Each creature and each player takes 12. All creatures die, and Alex dies too. With nothing else, Ryan passes. At the end of Ryan's turn, TK activates the One Ring, adding a counter and drawing a card. During his upkeep, TK loses a life to the One Ring. He also activates the One Ring, adding a counter and drawing 2 cards. He draws and plays a City of Brass. He casts a Mana Crypt. He casts Grand Abolisher. He taps his Ancient Doom to help recast his commander, Najeela the Blade Blossom. TK ends his turn. During his draw step, Ryan takes the damage through his Mana Vault. In his main phase, he recasts his commander, Godo, Bandit Warlord. It enters, and Ryan fetches up a Hammer of Nazan onto the battlefield. Hammer triggers, and in response, TK taps his City of Brass to cast Swords of Plowshares targeting Godo. Godo is exiled, and Ryan gains 3 life. Ryan ships the turn. During his upkeep, TK loses his Mana Crypt flip and takes 3 damage. He also loses 2 life to the One Ring. He draws and activates the One Ring, adding a counter and drawing 3 cards. He casts Dark Ritual, adding 3 black. He casts Diabolic Intent, sacrificing Najeela as an additional cost, fetching up a card into his hand. He casts Thassa's Oracle. Oracle enters, and with a trigger on the stack, TK casts Demonic Consultation, exiling his library. Oracle's trigger resolves, and TK wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what an awesome match. Congrats to TK on his win. While the table was fighting each other, TK sat back and saved the interaction in his hand until the time was right. After the players had picked each other off, TK saw his window and closed out the game. The most valuable card in tonight's game, sponsored by Luxury Playstyle, goes to Perplexing Chimera. This card makes such a mess out of every game when it resolves. Every spell becomes a question of whether or not you should exchange control of it and the spell in question. And since so many spells in CEDH are powerful, Perplexing Chimera gets argued over a lot through the course of a game. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time when we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.